The new Beetle Turbo is finally here in Forza Horizon 5. Believe it or not, the previous one we have is a decade old now. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to briefly show you how to unlock this thing in the playlist, take a quick look at what's available in the backstage pass and the cars in voting for next week, and then, well, see what this thing's like stock, go back to the festival and see what options are available for it, and potentially take it into some online races. Let's start then with the festival playlist, where unusually this isn't the overall prize for the week. For 20 points you unlock the Porsche 935, which is a returning prize vehicle. To get the 911 Turbo, all you actually have to do is the seasonal championship, 50 years of the Porsche 911 Turbo, so it's a lot easier than usual. We still don't quite know what's going to be coming in the next update, but it'll be something kind of Christmassy themed with stadium decorations again. If we head over to the Cars tab and the Backstage Pass, and go to the shop, you'll see the Valkyrie AMR Pro is now in here, as well as whatever the thing was that was with that, the MG MG6 X-Power, I think. This week, we can vote for many Nissans. There's the new Nissan Z and the Safari, or the Suru and the Sentra. I think the Suru and the Sentra are cooler, actually. Let's do that. I don't particularly need a second one of any of these, but there we go. Those are your options. This latest and greatest 2023 model of Beetle Turbo produces 641 brake horsepower, 79 more than the previous 911 Turbo that we have in-game. That car, though, to be fair, is actually a decade old now, believe it or not. This new car is lighter too, weighing in at 1,565 kilos, over 100 less than the old 911 Turbo, which is impressive given the way most modern cars are going. This means that the new 911 Turbo is the fastest accelerating Porsche road car they have ever made, and it also means that in-game, this new car is right in the middle of S1 class at 857 from standard. Before heading back to the festival, we drag race this new 911 Turbo against some sort of similar competitors. Okay, this is quite fast.
Super Tree.
I don't know, there was that other guy was beeping and you went in the pause.
No!
I thought you
Did you not hear the police horn? Right.
Yeah, donkey.
Oh god, my
Two
reaction
wheels.
was
Oh,
awful.
shit. Shit.
Never mind.
Come on, come on. Nope, got
What
nothing.
in the... Why is that so
I
fast?
upshifted too early, but yeah, I don't think it'd make a difference.
Yoshi wins.
Oh, the Roma's catching. Nope. Held it.
Ah, I can't break.
Ah.
So then, back to the main festival. It is available in several rather nice colours, as well as this light brown. You could also have it in black, of course. Red, white, blue, yellow, ruby stone red, which looks fantastic actually. It's more metallic than the one I've been trying to create on some of my other Porsches. And, well, another browny green. So let's go with that. That's not it for visual customization though. There are some aero options. There is a Brabus front bumper and a Maxton design front bumper. So for the time being, I'm going to put the Brabus one on. There is also Forza Aero with world's biggest front splitter and no tow hook, which is kind of nicer than normal, but still horrendous. So yeah, for the time being, lots of carbon Brabus bumper. There is also a Brabus rear wing, which replaces the rear wing, and a Maxton design one, which adds that rather nice lip. Again, much carbon. Let's put that one on. There is also, of course, rear bumpers. It's the same. There's a Porsche one, which adds a little bit below, which I rather like. There's Brabus, which has world's most ridiculous exhaust tips, but also removes the horrendous American number plate holder. And so does the other Brabus option, which is sort of a combination of the Porsche add-on bit and the Brabus bumper. So I'm going to put that on for the time being, as well as the Brabus side skirts. Again, there are Maxton design ones, but they're kind of less extreme and less carbon fibre. This is what the car looks like with the full Brabus body kit installed, including some Brabus wheels, and this is what it looks like with all the Maxton design parts applied. Over in conversion there are 2 engine swaps. There's a 3.8 litre flat 6 twin turbo, and there's also a 4.6 litre V8 hybrid out of the 918, if you want to do that. And if you want to ruin your turbo, you can rear wheel drive swap it. Then there's all of your usual tyre compounds, tyre widths, track width option, which will probably make the car sit slightly nicer, although it's on rather high suspension. There's also your usual clutch, transmission, driveline and differential upgrades, as well as platform handling upgrades. No upgrades to brakes, but you can do all of your normal suspension upgrades, roll bar upgrades, weight reduction and chassis and reinforcement. With full weight reduction out of the car, you can get weight down from 1,572 kilos to 1,283. And then finally you have all of your engine upgrades. With all of the engine upgrades applied, the power output is just shy of 1,000 brake horsepower at 962. At this point, nobody had actually shared a tune for this Porsche yet that we thought looked competitive, so we kind of got a bit bored of this car and gave up on it. But I came back to the game later and found a K1Z Bard tune that brought power up to 691 brake horsepower and weight down to 1,272 kilos, and then headed into some dreaded S1 Class Horizon Open, joining in time for the second race in a series at the Lanús Sprint, which happened to be a full lobby as well. Off the line, this thing was absolutely ridiculous, propelling me straight into second place. My initial impression, though, was that this car was incredibly fast in a straight line, but felt a bit skittish as soon as you so much as approached the steering, or gave any kind of hint that you might want to turn. I was, though, managing to keep it on the tarmac, although potentially being a little bit too cautious, until I was punted into absolute oblivion at the first right-angled corner, which put me back into the pack of vehicles behind. The way this car launched out of the corners, though, meant I was able to retake a couple of places pretty quickly out of the next sharp turn and get back up to third place by the finish, with only another Turbo S and the new 911R race car ahead of me. The final race in this series was at the Los Ardines circuit. I was slightly concerned here that on a tighter track I would struggle in this car. However, by the start of the second lap, I was already up into the lead somehow. With absolute chaos behind me, I was also able to pull a bit of a gap until the 911R started chasing me down further towards the end of the race, and with a less than helpful back marker, I was still somehow able to just about stay ahead until the finish, taking a first victory in this new 911 Turbo. As this hadn't been a full set of 3 races, I went straight into another one, starting at the Bahia de Plano circuit, which unfortunately contained a Viper Anniversary Edition. The Viper, unsurprisingly, was untouchable, extending their lead further and further throughout the 3 laps. Meanwhile, I was having an excellent race with the other new 911 Turbo, right until the checkered flag, and somehow, despite being on a PC, I managed to Xbox them on the finish line and was gifted a second place, even though I clearly finished in third. Nice to have it work that way for a change, it's always the other way round. Next up was the Ricosa Sprint. Here I was able to use the ghosting at the beginning of the race to my advantage, quickly getting myself into second place, and then on the straight getting past the Viper for the lead before we got into the properly technical section. This was crucial, as if the Viper was ahead by this point they would have pulled such a gap through these next few corners that they'd have had an easy victory. But as I was past, they found a large Porsche in the way through the sort of narrow section, and had nowhere to go other than into the back of me, which I don't think there was much I could really do about. I don't think that was my fault, although I did feel kind of bad, because chaos ensued behind me, and after that I was able to pull quite a large gap to second place before the end of the race, winning by over 2 seconds by the finish line. Finally, we headed to the Estadio circuit, one of my favourites in this game. Again, I very quickly found myself in the top 3, however I fell back into a battle with a McLaren F1, allowing the top 2 to get too far away to be anywhere near reachable in what remained from the race, even when I did eventually get clear of the McLaren. I was, though, incredibly lucky to drive through a ghosted Ferrari FXX that had encountered a wall somewhat just before the finish line, which gave me another 3rd place finish somehow, and also meant all of the finishes had been on the podium. This meant overall I was tied for the championship win with the Viper Anniversary Edition, with each of us on 50 points. The game though very kindly put me at the top of the scoreboard, so it kind of looked like I had beaten it. Overall then, this new Beetle Turbo had performed very well, winning 3 out of the 5 races I took it into, and finishing 3rd in all of the others, even if in one of them I was gifted a 2nd place. I think we should still count that as a 3rd really, but nevertheless they were all on the podium. So it is reasonable to use this thing in S1 from my experience anyway. However, I still don't really like the way it drives, although I did enjoy trying to keep it under control in these races, and it did achieve decent results in the end. So I'm kind of slightly torn about whether to keep the tune applied or not. I'll probably revert it back to standard, purely because I don't really do any S1 class racing, unless the new vehicle added happens to be an S1 class. So, although it's performed very well, I will probably be putting this thing back to standard. As you can see then, I have now reverted the car back to standard. That though is going to be all for today's video on the new Porsche 911 Turbo here on Forza Horizon 5. Not the most exciting car, I don't think anyway. The 911 Turbo is a fantastic vehicle. I've just never found it particularly interesting, so I wasn't that excited for this one, especially given I thought we already had one in game. To be fair though, that one is 10 years old, so it was about time that they added a new turbo, so it's good to see it in here, even if personally it's not one of my favourites. It has some brilliant manufacturer colours, including this beautiful ruby stone, which I'm of course going to leave it in, has some visual modification upgrades for Brabus and Maxton design, which is always a bonus, and when upgraded to S1 it was pretty good when I raced it, although I don't particularly enjoy S1, which is why I have now reverted it to standard, but that was probably one of the better experiences I've had actually racing in S1 class. As ever though, do let me know your thoughts on this brand new addition to Forza Horizon 5, but for today's video that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.